Now at 9, an Ohio man arrested in Kansas for the murder of 4 people. Plus, the Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex is nearing completion. And China continues to intimidate Taiwan with military drills. We'll have more.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight, and I'm Jalen Banks. Authorities arrest a suspect in Kansas wanted for killing 4 people in Ohio. Police in Montgomery County's Butler Township said late last night 39-year-old Stephen Marlowe was taken into custody by police in Lawrence, Kansas. He was wanted in Ohio for shooting and killing 4 people, with one victim being a teenage girl. They say Marlowe will be sent to Ohio to face charges. The Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex is nearing completion. It will be the home of the Spiva Art and Connect to Culture. The hope is to move into the new building in October and opening in November. With the new, larger space, they are seeking new staff to join their team and have the ability to host more events. And now Sam Lane joins us with our first look at the weather.
Thank you very much, Jalen. It was a beautiful day across the area, a little bit on the warm side, but we're kind of getting used to that, the way this summer's gone. We got up to about 97 degrees in Joplin today, which was above normal, but at least we weren't near the record of 107 back in 2011. We were 10 degrees above normal on the low, with, if you want to call that a low, 79 degrees, as the clouds kind of helped keep temperatures up last night. Radar is pretty much all clear right now. We did have one stray shower earlier near Fort Scott, but that has now dissipated. Instead, our attention is turning back to the west, with more storms developing in western Kansas and north central Kansas, and that is kind of headed our way, and it means some changes in our forecast, so you'll want to stay tuned for that in just a few.
The U.S. dollar is up more than 10%, near its highest level in 2 decades. While that's great news for American tourists traveling overseas, it's causing some debt problems for emerging economies. The International Monetary Fund estimates that 60% of low-income countries are at high risk of debt default. That compares to about 1 in 5 countries just 10 years ago. While some Americans worry about a recession, it's clear that if that happens, it could also lead to a global recession. The Federal Reserve's aggressive campaign to hike interest rates is only likely to make the dollar stronger. The Senate voting along party lines this afternoon to pass Democrats' spending bill. All 50 state Democrats supported the bill, with Vice President Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote. The bill will now head to the House, where Democrats hold a very slim majority. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson has the latest from the White House.
President Biden ended his isolation after testing negative for a second time for the coronavirus. He flew to Rehoboth Beach. Earlier, he released the following statement. Senate Democrats sided with American families over special interests, voting to lower the cost of prescription drugs, health insurance, and everyday energy costs and reduce the deficit, while making the wealthiest corporations finally pay their fair share. I ran for president promising to make government work for working families again, and that is what this bill does. Period. Here's Majority Leader Chuck Schumer after the bill passed.
Our bill reduces inflation, lowers costs, creates millions of good-paying jobs, and is the boldest climate package in U.S. history.
There is some debate about whether this massive bill, called the Inflation Reduction Act, will actually reduce inflation.
This should be helpful to American families and should be helpful for our economy and will help us deal with the inflation.
According to the CBO, and other economic organizations who have studied this bill, it will in fact have a minimal impact on inflation.
The bill is 755 pages long. Almost half of the $740 billion goes to paying down the federal deficit, paid for with new corporate taxes, including a 15% minimum tax on the largest corporations. $375 billion goes to combating climate change. Some $80 billion will grow the IRS, adding 87,000 new agents. Republicans succeeded in stripping out a $35 insulin cap for those buying in the private market. The Republican National Committee said in a statement, quote, Democrats will pay the price in November for raising taxes on families during a recession. President Biden says the bill does not raise taxes on anyone earning less than $400,000 a year. The bill won't go to the president's desk quite yet. The House returns Friday to vote for it. Senator Lindsey Graham gave the following warning.
In November, I hope you will remember this. Help is not coming by passing this bill. Help was not on the way by passing the American Rescue Plan. Misery came from that massive tax and spend bill, and we're about to pile misery on top of misery.
Over 400,000 Georgia Republicans did not vote in last year's special Senate elections. Both seats picked up by Democrats. A big reason this legislation passed. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
China continuing to flex their military might with the fourth day of drills in the air and sea near Taiwan. In relation for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to the island, Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff has more on that story.
Taiwan's military is set to conduct live fire drills this week as a way to test their own readiness. That's according to Taiwan's central news agency, and of course in response to China's four-day show of military might in the Taiwan Strait. The artillery drills, which included Chinese warships and jets, started Thursday and concluded earlier today. Taiwanese officials reporting that they appear to be a rehearsal for an attack on the island, adding that some Chinese vessels crossed the median line, which exists as an unofficial buffer zone between the two sides. Leadership in the U.S. maintains that China's President Xi Jinping is using Speaker Pelosi's landmark trip to Taiwan as an excuse to show aggression.
What President Xi decided to do was manufacture a crisis over Pelosi's visit. He's got, as you know, this fall, the Communist Party Congress is coming up. He's seeking an unprecedented third term as leader of China. And this is saber rattling and, chest thumping by President Xi.
Taiwan is a democracy that sees itself as sovereign. The Communist Chinese government claims it as their own territory. On Fox News Sunday earlier, former Governor and UN Ambassador Nikki Haley weighed in on the Biden administration's hesitation regarding Speaker Pelosi's visit.
I do think that Nancy Pelosi was right to go to Taiwan. It's a shame that Biden tried to put a wrench in it by saying the military didn't want her to go. China's trying to bully us the same way they try and bully their own people, and we shouldn't have it.
With the Chinese drills concluded, Taiwan's transport ministry said today that it was gradually lifting airspace restrictions. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
We now take this time to honor one of our four-state heroes, Sergeant Kevin Murphy, an Arcadia, Kansas native, served in the Army and in Iraq from 2004 to 2006. He earned 4 Commendation Medals and 7 Army Achievement Medals. To Sergeant Kevin Murphy, we thank you, our four-state hero. Coming up next, Russia's advancement in the Ukraine, causing national concern. And later, a big day for a pair of Webb City Little Leaguers at the Midwest Regional Tournament in Indianapolis. We'll have the highlights in sports. Oscar-winning actress and producer Jessica Chastain met with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. An official Ukrainian delegation met with the actress in Kyiv's main train station. During their meeting, Zelensky thanked Chastain for visiting. She praised the Ukrainian people.
Thank you very much for coming, and today is very important for us in Ukraine.
They're incredibly brave and very strong, and Ukrainian people are very strong.
Ukrainian media reports say that Chastain is also expected to visit a children's hospital in Kyiv, and her itinerary included a stop at a town outside of the capital that was badly damaged when Russia launched its assault on Ukraine in February. As Russia continues its invasion of Ukraine, fighting is ramping up near a major site of major international concern. Fox News correspondent Alex Hogan has the details from Kyiv, Ukraine.
Attacks striking Europe's largest nuclear power plant, and as the fighting gets closer to the facility, international experts are warning just how disastrous another attack could be. Shelling struck and damaged 3 radiation sensors and injured at least 1 worker inside the power plant outside of Zaporizhia. For the last week, international experts have warned that the situation was out of control with overlooked safety protocols. And now with the fighting on the doorsteps of the facility, it's creating an even more dire situation.
No one in the world can feel safe when a terrorist state fires at a nuclear power plant, and God forbid the irreparable will happen.
In the eastern part of the country, Russian forces conducted ground attacks in Bakhmut and Avdiivka, which have been considered key targets in the Donetsk region of the Donbass. Further west, there's widespread destruction in the southern city of Mykolaiv. The city is currently on lockdown for the weekend, and residents are told to stay inside as law enforcement search for Russian spotters who are tipping off Russian troops of where to target. Today also marks 14 years since Russia invaded Georgia in 2008. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken today saying, quote, Russia's unprovoked further invasion of Ukraine underscores the need for the people of Georgia and Ukraine to stand together in solidarity. Ukraine's war crimes prosecutor is investigating 26,000 cases of war crimes since the invasion began on February 24th. So far, 135 people have been charged. In Kyiv, Ukraine, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Ongoing tensions between Israel and the Islamic Jihad in Gaza. A scheduled ceasefire between the two sides is now in effect after nearly 3 days of intense violence. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst is on the Israel-Gaza border with the latest.
Earlier this evening, a ceasefire went into effect between Israel and Islamic Jihad. But just before, there were a number of airstrikes across the Gaza Strip as Islamic Jihad was firing rockets toward the southern city of Beersheba. The third day of fighting, the Israelis were able to come to the table with this faction inside Gaza with the help of the Egyptians to hammer out this ceasefire agreement. The region now waiting to see if it will hold. I want you to take a look at what it was like earlier today as rockets were fired into this part of Israel, many of them intercepted by the missile defense system, the Iron Dome. Massive rocket barrage right now being fired from the Gaza Strip. You can see these rockets coming off of the northern part of Gaza as Israel's missile defense system, the Iron Dome, intercepts them. To the sea. Go to the sea. To the sea. You can see incoming rocket fire slammed into the sea across from the position that we are in. In the distance, we can hear more explosions right now. The Israelis are likely targeting positions inside the Gaza Strip. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, more than 40 people were killed in this round of violence that erupted in the Middle East. The region hoping they're going to be able to hammer out some long-term agreements to avoid more casualties taking place. But it's an uncertain environment, and many times when these ceasefires are brokered, they're broken days later. Along the Israel-Gaza border, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
And coming up, an update on the ongoing heat for millions of Americans.
It's almost...
Well, it was another warm one across the 4 states today, but of course it is summertime, but at least we're not getting close to those records like we were last week. But nevertheless, a pretty warm day across the area. Right now on the Tower Cam down in Seneca, Missouri at the Indigo Skies Casino and Resort. A pretty pleasant evening down south as well as here in Joplin. As I mentioned, we've been dealing with some heat across the area over the month of August already. You can see the entire first week has been above normal on temperatures. So that puts us 7 days in a row for the month of August above normal. Now, in the forecast, I'm expecting a below normal day on Tuesday, around normal on Wednesday, then we get slightly above normal. So maybe, just maybe, we might be turning the corner on the intense summer heat. But nevertheless, it's pretty mild out there this evening with temperatures in the mid-80s still at this hour. 87 in Joplin, 88 in Parsons, 89 up in Yates Center. And when you look at the dew points, they're up there too. That means lots of moisture in the air around the region. 69 in Neosho, 68 for the dew point in Anderson. And when you factor those two together, it feels pretty muggy and soupy out there. And when you factor in those factors, we're looking at heat index values in the upper 80s to mid 90s in some places still. 93 in the Neosho is what it feels like right now, and 94 in Independence. Your sky tracker looks like this. We're going to see partly cloudy skies this evening, and then as we go through the overnight hours, we'll see temperatures drop down into the mid-70s out for the western counties. Look at the southerly winds coming in from the south with partly cloudy skies. Here in Joplin, we'll drop down to around 81 degrees around 8 a.m., 77 in Grove, 77 in Garnett, and off to the east, 78 in Cassville, and 77 over in Monette with partly cloudy skies. Then as we go through the day, we're going to see scattered showers and storms develop across our area. 90 for your high in Monette, 90 in Stockton, 92 in Bentonville. Here in Joplin, I think we'll top out at around 91, 92. A little bit cooler in Garnett with 86 with scattered showers. And off to the west, 98 in Bartlesville, 97 in Nowata tomorrow with scattered storms across the area. Then as we go through Monday evening, temperatures will drop down into the 70s by the time we get into Tuesday morning, with mid-70s in Nowata, Coffeyville, 71 in Veneta. Here in Joplin, we'll drop down to around 74, and off to the east in Monette, they'll drop down to around 73. Then as we go through the day Tuesday, again, scattered showers and storms across our area and cooler. Look at this, highs in the upper 80s, 88 in Bentonville, 87 in Cassville. Here in Joplin, around 90 for your high on Tuesday, and out to the west, about the same, 89 in Howard, 89 in Yates Center. Your next 7 days looks like this: 92 tomorrow with a chance of thunderstorms, 40% scattered around the area. Tuesday, only 86, and I say only 86, with a 40% chance of storms. Better chance of storms in the southern sections, and then slight less chance of rain on Wednesday, but still, all in all, not a bad forecast with temperatures in the mid-90s. At least we're not seeing those 100-degree temperatures, Jalen.
Yeah, I'm all for not seeing any triple digits in the forecast.
Me too.
But speaking of that wind, my way in here, I definitely felt it as soon as I got out the car.
Absolutely.
I was like, this is more Kansas if you tell me about it. But yeah, thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Over 70 million people across the U.S. are under heat alerts today, which include both heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. These alerts encompass portions of the Pacific Northwest, Midwest, and Northeast, including cities such as St. Louis, Kansas City, and Oklahoma City. Across the Midwest and Northeast, temperatures will be 10 to 15 degrees above normal, with heat index values climbing into the mid-90s to triple digits. The heat index across Kansas and Missouri reached nearly as high as 110 degrees this afternoon. The latest from the CPAC convention and what former President Trump had to say. Former President Trump is closing out the Conservative Political Action Conference last night after topping its 2024 straw poll and telling Fox News Digital an announcement about his 2024 plans is coming soon. Fox News correspondent Jeff Paul gives us a wrap from Dallas.
The results of the CPAC straw poll are in, and former President Donald Trump is still the most favored person in terms of a possible presidential run in 2024. And he had it by a wide margin, well ahead of Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis. And voters out here in Dallas say that's no surprise.
I'm thrilled to be back at CPAC.
If there was any lingering doubt regarding who controls favor among conservatives in the U.S., picture was made crystal clear in Dallas Saturday night.
I just come in, sir, you won the straw poll. I said, I better damn win that straw poll.
Conservatism still runs through former President Donald Trump, and voters point to Arizona as proof. It was a clean sweep for Republicans endorsed by Trump in primary contests, including a win by former TV anchor Carrie Lake, who's running for governor.
Well, we won.
If the GOP establishment doesn't get their act together, they're going to see 10,000 more Carrie Lakes pop up.
As we near November midterms, key issues are taking shape. There was the overturning of Roe v. Wade. However, just last week, voters in Kansas voted to protect abortion rights.
I don't think that the left has a monopoly on turning out voters because of Roe v. Wade. I think the right will turn out voters because of that, too.
But then there's what happened on January 6th and the hearings that followed. Could that spell trouble for conservative voters?
We've kind of had enough. I mean, I think that was a bad day in history, but we've moved past that.
Many voters say it all comes down to one issue, though, the economy.
We've got these big social issues, but we still have to put food on the table for our kids.
The CPAC straw poll also asked attendees what their most important issues were, the number one being election integrity, followed by immigration, and then energy independence. In Dallas, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
A girl's best friend is getting a revamped look out on the water. A look at it next. If diamonds are a girl's best friend, then this thing is the ultimate BFF. A diamond-inspired super yacht concept called the Stella de Sud, inspired by Cartier's famous 128-carat diamond. The Italian design team behind the floating fantasy imagines an onboard cinema, helipad, and 3 pools, one with a waterfall effect. The main deck has room for 8 VIP cabins, a gym, and a piano lounge. Well, that's a look at the first half hour of the KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And next, a look at a fundraiser that helps those with disabilities.
something changing with your...
Now at 9, the 7th annual Buckles Barrels raises funds for a local charity. Plus, a car show that celebrates the Emancipation Proclamation will have the details. And later, school officials are scrambling as the teacher shortage hits a new low.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The 7th annual Buckles Barrels continues today. The event is helping the On My Own Foundations in efforts raising money for people with disabilities to remain living independently in their own homes. The executive director of On My Own tells us why events like this are important.
So that people that don't have the income or fall through the cracks, so that we have the funding to provide those services for them.
The barrel race is in its 7th year, and On My Own has been around for a quarter of a century. The Joplin Emancipation Celebration Committee is presenting its 2022 annual Emancipation Park Day celebration, a celebration that celebrates the official Emancipation Proclamation, which was set forth in the fall in 1862 and adopted in January of 1863 by a wartime Union government. Today, it was celebrated with a car show.
Today is our 15th annual car show we put on for the Park Day celebration in the park. We've been doing this now I've been doing it now for about 8 years for the festival, and we have probably around 65 cars here today, and just basically do it to appreciate, you guys come in, to appreciate the show and everything what we do for them.
Johnson says events like this are really important for the community because it brings people together. And now Sam Lane joins us with another look at the forecast.
Thank you very much, Jalen. It was a little bit cooler today, a couple of degrees cooler than it was yesterday. 97 was where we got up to this afternoon after starting out at 79, which was well above the normals of 69, but at least we were not anywhere close to the record of 107 set back in that dreadful summer of 2011. Radar earlier today showed some thunderstorms over near Rolla, but those have now dissipated. Now things are pretty much all clear here in the 4 states, but notice off to the north and west, more thunderstorms out in western Kansas, and guess where they're headed? They're kind of marching this direction, so we do have some changes in the forecast, and of course we'll have details on that as far as rainfall amounts because we are still in a drought across the 4-state area, so you want to stay tuned for the forecast.
The governor of Texas has blamed the Biden administration for a record number of migrants at the southern border. Now, he hopes to give the leaders of the major Democratic-run cities a dose of what he says his state is dealing with on a daily basis. Fox News correspondent Nate Foy has that story from New York.
An immigration fight heating up thousands of miles from the border as Texas sends more asylum seekers to cities in the Northeast. The governor calling it a way to shift responsibility for the crisis to Democrat leaders.
They're fine with illegal immigration flooding across our borders and the crisis caused by the Biden administration as long as it stays down in Texas. But when they have to start dealing with the consequences themselves, they act like it's some great catastrophe, which it is.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams says roughly 4,000 migrants have arrived in New York City in recent months. Adams says many of them show up with no relatives in the city and no idea where to go next.
This country, a country that has always been open to those who were fleeing persecution and other intolerable conditions. We've always welcomed that, and this governor is not doing that in Texas.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the state has sent 6,500 migrants to Washington, D.C. in recent months. The mayor there responded by asking the Pentagon to deploy the National Guard. That request was denied, but not without drawing criticism from some advocacy groups.
We have shown her that this can be done in a welcoming manner and this can be done in a respectful and dignified manner. And then she looked at that process that the community has created and chose to choose a militaristic approach.
The mayors of both cities say their shelter systems are full and they're requesting more help from the federal government to find places for migrants to live. Reporting in New York City, Nate Foy, Fox News.
Still ahead, how teacher shortages continue to impact the country. Unfortunately, it's been another frustrating weekend for air travelers. The flight tracking site FlightWare reports nationwide more than 1,500 flights were canceled yesterday and today. And there were also thousands of delays All of this comes as the Department of Transportation announced it would consider broadening the circumstances for which passengers would be entitled to refunds if their travel plans were disrupted. Some of the possible circumstances that could result in refunds would include an airline changing the airport for the passenger's arrival or departure, changing the arrival or departure time by more than 3 hours, or adding an additional layover. With millions of kids getting ready to go back to school, America's teacher shortage has hit crisis at all-time levels, and school officials everywhere are scrambling. Reporter Elise Preston is in New York with details.
Monday is the first day of school in Quinlan, Texas, where the district resorted to some creative incentives to recruit teachers.
We get to wear jeans and t-shirts every day, which as a science teacher I love.
That new dress code plus a 4-day week and the announcement of a $1,000 bonus just for showing up. Kansas could have its worst teacher shortage ever, still missing 1,400, and Florida has about 8,000 openings. In San Francisco,
we want you now. We need you now.
The school district is using emergency permits to waive the usual credentials.
It's actually possible for somebody who doesn't have a teaching credential but has an interest in being an educator right now to come and try it out.
Teachers blame low pay, pandemic stress, and politics for driving them away. And the problem could get worse. A poll of the American Federation of Teachers found 40% of its members may leave the job in the next 2 years. 3/4 say they would not recommend their profession to others.
You're calling this a crisis?
Yes, it is a crisis.
Randy Weingarten is AFT president.
We need to actually make the conditions better so that the teachers we have right now will stay. We really need them, and that new people want to come into teaching.
Experts point out some classrooms are feeling the burden more. Children with special needs and bilingual students have been facing a lack of resources for years. Staffing, especially now, is tougher for those programs. And coming up, Sam Lane is back with another look at the forecast. The St. Louis Cardinals aim to sweep the New York Yankees for the first time in franchise history.
Well, we've been advertising it for quite a while now that some changes in our forecast were coming with chances of rain and also cooler temperatures, and it looks like things are still on track with that. Let's take a look outside right now down in Seneca, Missouri at the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Pretty nice evening shaping up there. It was pretty warm down there today too, and looks like we're going to be seeing more hot weather for the month of August. Of course, we're still in summer, but at least last week we were seeing temperatures well above 100 degrees, and now we've cooled down just a little bit. 99 yesterday, 97 today, which is still above normal, but at least more tolerable. So 7 days so far this month above normal. Temperatures right now are still in the mid to upper 80s across the area. 88 in Yates Center, 89 still in Chanute. A little bit cooler over in Monette. And for our friends over there in Cassville, they're sitting at 81 right now. The dew points, they're up there. And so it's feeling sticky and muggy out there with dew points in the upper 60s to lower 70s. But the moisture in place is going to help those thunderstorms as we go over the next 24 to 36 hours. And you see on a dew point tracker, generally muggy conditions in existence right now. When you factor in the dew point with the temperature, this is what it feels like right now. Upper 80s to right around 90 degrees, like Nowata, we're checking in with 92. Your future view forecast looks like this. Here's the cold front up to the north, making its way to the south. Lows tonight will generally be in the mid 70s across the area. 78 in Joplin, 77 in Neosho, 75 in Bentonville with that cold front. Notice it comes down during the day tomorrow, then kind of stalls out across our area with highs in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees with scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. And then that front will start to move to the south, and by Tuesday morning we'll see lows in the mid 70s to the south and lower 70s to the north, and a stationary front across our area. And this is going to be a prime location for more thunderstorms developing along that boundary as we move into Tuesday afternoon. And as we do so, temperatures will remain in the upper 80s across our area, 86 in Joplin, 88 in Parsons, and a little bit warmer down to the south, but a pretty good chance of showers and thunderstorms. Then as we go into Wednesday morning, a warm front down to the south with lows generally in the upper 60s, believe it or not, in Garnett, Parsons 69, 73 here in Joplin. All right, let's take a look at the rainfall forecast. You can see that some areas are expected to get around ½ an inch of rain or more in some isolated areas, and that will certainly be good news, especially for our farmers. All right, let's take a look at the forecast. 92 tomorrow with a 40% chance of storms. Cooler on Tuesday with a high of 86. Then Wednesday, 90 with most of the storms starting to move to the south. Then we turn dry, but at least we're not getting close to 100 degrees. Highs in the mid-90s. And then the extended outlook, look at there. Highs only in the lower 90s. So maybe, just maybe, Jalen, we've turned the corner on summer just a little bit.
I just saw 5 days with potential rain.
There you
for
go.
the month of July, there was no days in sight whatsoever. So
that's right.
I'm pretty excited, and I'm sure the rest of the 4 states.
Oh,
are.
absolutely.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Coming up in sports, the St. Louis Cardinals aim to sweep the New York Yankees for the first time in team history. And the Webb City Little League aims to move on in the regional semifinals in Indianapolis. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Be sure and drop. The Webb City Little League is 1-0 in the Midwest Regional Tournament in Indianapolis. Now, they got the tournament started on Friday with a 5-4 win over Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Today, they have a chance to move on to the semifinals, facing Fargo, North Dakota. Now, this one, it was a 10 a.m. game, but Andrew Baird woke up ready to play baseball. Bottom of the first, Baird drills it out to right center. 3-run jack gives Webb City the lead. Baird drives in 5 runs today. His teammate Brady Holland also had a monster day. Here in the 4th inning, down 1. Holland goes to opposite field. That would score 2. Holland in there for the double. 4th inning turned out to be a big one for Webb City. They've already batted around. Holland back to the plate. Bases loaded. He finds the gap. That clears the bases. Holland also with 5 RBIs today for Webb City. They would plate 10 runs in the 4th. 5th inning, they got a chance to end it early, and Bryce Stevens does just that. RBI single gives Webb City the run rule victory. They're moving on to the regional semifinals, topping Fargo, North Dakota 17-7. Staying in the Midwest Regional, the Pittsburgh 12 and under group is also still alive. They beat Kearney, Nebraska 7-0 on Saturday behind a no-hitter from pitcher Gabe Brown. Now Pittsburgh will be back in action on Monday in Indianapolis, aiming to become the first Pittsburgh Little League team to pick up 2 wins at the regional tournament.
That'd mean the world to me and the boys. Like I said, we've put in a lot of hard work, and these kids have, man, they worked so hard and they care so much. To see them do that for each other and to be the first team from Pittsburgh to get 2 wins, that would be, man, that'd mean the world to us and the boys, for sure. We're going to play small ball, we're going to play defense, we're going to throw strikes, and we're going to make a team beat us. And if a team can outplay us, we might lose, but we're going to go, I don't know if I can say this on there, but we're going to go give them hell. That's what I said we're going to do all week. We're going to go give them hell.
The St. Louis Cardinals are on a roll right now. The Cardinals have won 6 games in a row, including the first 2 games of their 3-game series against the Yankees. And this afternoon, St. Louis has a chance to keep their streak alive and earn the sweep against New York. 4-3 Yankees until Nolan Arenado with 2 on. Clears the wall out there and left. Cards go in front 6-4. We're tied up in the 5th. Paul DeYoung drills it to right, bounces around in the corner. Lars Nootbaar waved around third and scores just like that. St. Louis back in the lead. Same inning, bases loaded for Paul Goldschmidt. The Yankees give away a free one here on the walk. It's now 9-6. Then in the 8th, Paul DeYoung at the dish again. Big swing here. Going out there to Big Mac land. 4 RBIs today for DeYoung. Cards get the win and sweep the Yankees 12-9. Kansas City Royals trying to take 3 out of 4 in the series finale today against the Red Sox. MJ Melendez RBI single in the 3rd gives the Royals a 2-0 lead. 5th inning, Melendez back to work. He had a nice day. It's a 3-run bomb here for Kansas City, his 13th. Melendez drives in 6 today. Royals up 5-0, and they're not done. Here in the 7th, Kyle Isbell lines a triple. Nate Eaton scores. At that point, it is 6-3 Royals. they would really slam the door in the 8th inning. Isbell again, bases loaded, doubles off the wall. That scores 2, 6 runs for Kansas City in the 8th. They take the series from Boston, winning the finale 13-5. Well, there are now just 4 races remaining before the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs begin. Now, the first of those races is this afternoon, with the Cup Series heading to Michigan for the Firekeepers Casino 400. The weather actually delayed the start of this one, but they would get on the track. Start this thing in stage 2, lap 114. Crazy moment in the race. Cole Custer has to pit with a front tire on fire. The pit crew was able to put that fire out. Custer would be okay. The final lap of the stage, Denny Hamlin out front. He takes stage 2. So we go to stage 3 now. Kevin Harvick leading the way. He leads 38 laps, takes the checkered flag for Harvick. Today's win snaps a 65 race winless streak.
We've had several good runs the last few weeks, Loudon and Pocono, where the car ran good and just, didn't have everything work out. So, a lot of things went our way today, which, we haven't had all year long, have things go our way and have things fall our way. You go out and you try to put yourself in a position to win the race and try to capitalize on a day and put a whole day together. And today we put a whole day together.
Webb City going to be back in action on Wednesday at the Midwest Regional Tournament. Of course, Pittsburgh plays tomorrow. So great to see both of them still alive for a chance at the Little League World Series.
Huge day for 4 states baseball. We got a sweep from the Yankees, Kansas City. What was it? 12-9.
12-9 wins all around, man. It's great.
We had a mercy rule.
Yeah, in the Midwest Regional, whenever you do that, you know you had a good day.
Yeah, a little bit of magic running on. All right, we'll be right back. Fans know Elvis loved his sparkling jumpsuits and diamond-studded rings. For years, much of the famous jewelry from the king of rock and roll was considered lost. Now, after nearly a 10-year search, some of the pieces are found. The jewels joined the auction alongside other Elvis-related memorabilia, many items going for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. The auction ends later this month.
Pretty neat.
I mean, that's quite fitting for all this to be found right when a biopic came out about him.
Yeah, and I think we're pretty close to the anniversary of his death. I think, wasn't that in August?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
I think it was. So we're going to have some hot weather to deal with. But there's good news. We have rain in the forecast, too, for the first time in a while. 86 on Tuesday for the high, with a pretty good chance of showers and storms both tomorrow and Tuesday, and then lesser chance on Wednesday. And then we start to be in the mid-90s. We head towards next weekend. So it looks like we're going to be a little bit of mixed bag for everything.
Thank you. All right, sounds good. Well, that's our time for now. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you right back here next time, and we hope you have a great one.